Saints Talk listeners, what's up? We back for another week. This is Saints Talk, the official podcast of NewOrleans.Football. As always, I'm your host, Kevin Washington, and I'm here with the man behind the site, behind the operation himself, Nick Underhill. Make sure you guys follow Nick on Twitter at Nick_Underhill. You guys can follow me at Kevin Walsh Jr. And want to make sure you guys get to the website. Go to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. The link will be in the show notes. And subscribe, man. Get the best Saints content anywhere on the web, anywhere you can get it. So, quick rundown on the site this week. Nick did the article called The Rundown, where he's got some, he's talking about Mario Davis and his quest to get better. He talked about how Drew Brees, kind of thinking back to his time when they signed him as a free agent, how big of a steal he was. Jadavion and Clowney market, Kiko Alonso's health, Sheldon Rankin's health, some preseason stuff. How the crowd noise affect teams on both sides of the ball, the offense and the defense. He had some really, really good quotes from Kenny Vaccaro in there. So please go check that one out. That was probably my favorite read of the week. And I don't know, maybe tie for this one. What would happen if the Saints would have drafted Patrick Mahomes, who signed a relatively large contract this week? So make sure you guys go to the website, sign up, NewOrleans.Football /subscribe, get a pot of 5-star rating, and show us some love. We appreciate it. Nick, what's going on, man?
So do you think they would have won a Super Bowl by now with Mahomes? Do you think it would have made a difference?
That's the hardest question in the world.
It is.
That's the hardest question.
All right. So I think my biggest thing, what do you think about that? One of the biggest things I think for me, and it's kind of like a secondary element to it, I think that the whole view of Marcus Williams would be fundamentally different because they probably are not in that game in 2017, because without Lattimore, your starting corners are Ken Crawley and PJ Williams. So they probably don't make the playoffs. Or if they do, they're backing in. Like, I just think things are a little bit different. That situation, I just don't think plays out. And I think if you take that play off of Marcus Williams, it changes how he plays. Because I think that probably affected him mentally for a while after that. I mean, when AG talked just a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that his confidence in that is one of the things that he's seen improve. So you got to think that play played a part in it. And if you take that off his resume, fans view him different. I think Marcus views himself different. And I think it changes the perception of him. And maybe he's a little bit different as a player.
Yeah, maybe we're talking about him as
Ed Reed.
Maybe we've been there before.
This time for real, though.
Yeah, he really be Ed Reed for this. Yeah. You blame that on Drew. But yeah, that's a good point about Marcus. You would like to think that, I would say no to the Super Bowl just because, it's tricky, right? It's not like the quarterback position is a position that's holding them back. I don't think Drew Brees is the reason why the Saints haven't been to the Super Bowl, but I think if you take away someone like Marshawn Lattimore, and in the article you kind of spoke a little bit about how if they don't take a cornerback, and I'm not going to give away the whole article, you guys should go read it, but if they don't take a cornerback there, then do they take one later in the round? Is Ramczyk there? Streif got hurt, so it's this kind of this domino effect. So you're probably maybe dealing with a team that maybe has a little bit less talent because, like I said, the quarterback position was already addressed, right? So you're now either missing a tackle or you're missing a cornerback, and those are two important positions. So my instincts tell me no, and another reason why is because Saints fans know. You look at the last 3 years, it's really, really hard to win a Super Bowl. The talent on the team has been ridiculous, and one wrong play, one wrong game, one wrong coach going against Sean Payton, figuring him out, kind of breaking down the protections for a little bit, and the whole season is over. So I would say no, but, it would be nice to have my homeboy, in the Big Easy.
Yeah, look, I agree. I don't think that they'd be better in the short term. I think in the long term, obviously, they're a lot better. I think either way, this would probably be the year where everything came together, because I think it would have taken a little bit longer to get all the pieces to come together as well. And look, I think it was before the 17 draft. It might have been before the 16 draft, but at the owners' meetings that year, I saw Mickey Loomis and, I'm drilling him with questions like I always do. And one of them was, what do you do if you draft a quarterback in the first round? Does that mean this will be Drew's last year? He's like, no, of course not. Like, we keep bringing Drew back as long as we're in a position to win and we're winning with him. And you have 5 years of transition. So it's easy to think that, like, the otherworldly quarterback, the guy that, I don't know, is it fair to say that he has the highest upside of any quarterback to ever play in the NFL? Like, at this point, like, I think he has the potential to be the most talented of all time. I think greatest of all time is a little bit different, but
Yeah,
I think right now you would have to say he's on the path to be cemented as the most talented. Now he's got to win 4 or 5 titles before you start having GOAT talk. But um, but Drew's really, really good still, and it would be really hard to push him out the door for anybody when you're as close as they've been. And the big outlier, I think, in the whole thing is 17 and how it plays out. And if they aren't good and they don't make the playoffs, or if they're just barely getting in the playoffs and get smoked in the first round, then it's, does Drew want to come back? There's this
mhm.
other guy the team feels far away. But if they were still good in 17, I don't know if you draft Mahomes when that transition takes place. It would have taken place at some point, but when is the big question. And I don't know. It's the biggest what if in team history. Getting Lattimore is the ultimate consolation prize. Having one of the best
Yeah,
corners in the league. It's not like,
that's not a bad pick.
yeah, it's not Sam Bowie, Michael Jordan type deal. Like, you know what I mean, or whoever.
Yeah,
That's a little bit different, but they pass on him. But I'm just saying it isn't like getting a terrible backup plan. It's it's a good fallback option, but it is always going to be the biggest what if in team history.
yeah, yeah. I think at some point, you're looking at Mahomes practice and you're saying,
Yeah.
we got to play. We drafted you at, that would have been pick 13 that year. Let's just say 13. I want to say it was 13. I think it was 13 because Rankins was 12, Pete was 11. Yeah, 11, 12, 13. I think that's what it was. So at some point, you're seeing this guy practice and, you realize that he's something totally different, right, than anyone else in the NFL. And so I think that it probably accelerates Drew's exodus as a Saint. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but you got this guy who you think is all worldly on the roster, and you got to unleash him at some point. So it's a tricky question, but I don't think. I mean, you're not looking at the same roster talent, but maybe with a guy like that, I mean, obviously, if we had in New Orleans, if you have the Drew Brees from 09, 10, 11, this team was. I think they're Super. I think they win the Super Bowl because you don't really have those playoff games where they're maybe not so good offensively in some, at certain points in time. So I don't know. I don't know. It's
There's a legitimate MVP argument though in 18 between those two. So it's not like Mahomes has otherworldly talent, but like Drew's was at the
yeah.
peak
He was balling that
efficiency.
year.
The physical was going down, but the mental so high, and like it was like a peak, one of his best efficient seasons. So just going away from that to a guy who at that point would still be like, okay, he's amazing in practice, but this other guy's amazing in games. He's getting us there. Like, it would have been a hard one.
That's a tough one. Yeah, and I think I think one thing that I think about is back when Drew was in his physical, kind of when you have the intersection between when the guys got it going on in the mentally and physically. He was carrying the team basically single handedly in a lot of ways, right? A lot of games. You watch some games, like you watched what was that, the year that they played the Giants and the score was like 80-95.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous game. And so you're looking at this guy who's carrying the team on his back. And I think maybe the last 3 years that hasn't been the case so much. He's still been, a really good player playing at a really high level, but he's not carrying the team like he did those years. So I do think your defense probably isn't as good, but I think the offense is so
Yeah.
explosive that you can make up for that because you got a guy who can carry the team on his right arm. So it's
So the 10-year deal, Ross Jackson brought up a talking point on Twitter that I thought was pretty interesting.
mhm.
Anybody on the team, who would be the guy? Let's just give me your first one. Who's the first guy you would give a 10-year contract to, if you had to?
The easiest guy is Ramchick. That's that one jumps out to me because when you look at some of the other positions, cornerback. All right, you got Lattimore. Cornerbacks they rarely are they good for really extended periods of time, right? I don't know any cornerbacks. There's not many cornerbacks that dominated for 10 years, right? You look at
Darryl
running back.
might be like the only one. Darryl Green dominated
Yeah,
for like
he feel
9
like
decades though.
he still
He was
runs
like
like
87.
he still runs like a 4.5 or something. It's like, I want you to get old, bro. Why are you faster than me? I'm 37 and you're not. Yeah, and so and then I'm not gonna go position by position. Running back is out of the question. If you had a young quarterback, clearly, right? Maybe in a year and a half, 2 years, we're looking at Taysom or Jameis, and this is an easy question to
Taysom's
answer.
out of the conversation, I think, just based on age, period.
That's a good point. That's a good point. He's 31. So is Jameis the guy, right? Um, nobody in the secondary, no I mean, Davenport, no, you haven't seen enough. So only guy I can think of is Ramchick, and this is gonna sound crazy, and McCoy.
Okay.
Offensive linemen to me those are the guys who play into their mid-30s and they're still effective, right? Defensive linemen, every once in a while, you get the Calais Campbells of the world, the Justin Smiths, but that offensive line and the quarterback I think those are positions where, you can get those guys. Maybe Will Lutz is a guy that stands out. Special teamers are guys who tend to kind of be able to play later into their careers too. So, yeah, I would say Ramchick, McCoy, and maybe Lutz, just because he's younger than Morstead.
I mean, yeah, I
I
mean,
take all your players.
I mean, Lutz is an obvious one. He's a top 5 kicker, in terms of field goal percentage in NFL history right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably a safe bet to keep going for 10 years. He'd be 35-ish or something like that. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't think you would end up regretting that too much. I agree. Ramchek, I think, is probably your safest bet. McCoy, I mean, I would like to see a second season before I would go 10 years on him. But I mean, just based on upside and potential, like if you're whittling it down, he's one of the only candidates. The obvious answer is that you don't give anybody a 10-year contract because most guys aren't going to live it out. I
Right.
think Mike Thomas, even though he's 27, if I had to bet on how he ages, I think that the 37-year-old version of Mike Thomas is probably still good because he isn't somebody that relies on speed separation too much. So as long as he's physical, I think he could probably still get it done. I mean,
So you're saying the 37-year-old version of Michael Thomas is like the 29-year-old version of Anquan Bolden?
I just think that he there's a chance that he's going to be, if he still wants to be playing, if he can retain just a little bit of that quickness to separate, just at the last moment, and he remains physical, there's a shot. Still 37-year-old wide receiver is
Man,
a
that's
tough bet,
tricky.
but like you look at, I could see him becoming a big tight end at the end of his career, like a Ben Watson type, something like that. Maybe you move him inside. If you had to give somebody a 10-year contract, I'm just like, he's the next only candidate, I think, on the team. I don't think there's anybody else after him,
So
excluding the rookies. I mean,
who are you? So who are your? So all right.
Ramchek's
So
number one.
Ramchick's number one. All right,
We're in
number two.
agreement. Yeah. My number
Number
two will be Lutz.
I would go with Lutz too. Number two. Number three.
I mean, just based on the odds, I think you're right on McCoy.
Yeah, I feel good about McCoy, 10-year starter.
Yeah, I mean, because like the downside there, I think is okay. I
I
mean,
think the
it's
floor
not.
was the
Yeah,
floor last year,
yeah,
right? Pending injury, which is crazy because you look at. I think the Cowboys gave Smith one of those contracts, and he's not the same player that he was.
yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, look, if you do it with Mike, see, I tend to think that Mike is. I think he's really. I think he's a really physically talented receiver as it pertains to his physical traits. And I know he doesn't run the 4.3 and the 4.4, and people look at him like he's not this, immensely talented physical specimen. I think he is. I think he gets out of his breaks
Right.
quicker than guys who are like 6 feet tall and who are lower to the ground. I think he's really explosive out of his stance. I think he's really physical in press. I think he really knows how to set up a guy at the top of his route stem. So I think physically he's as talented as most, I don't think he's just getting by off being smarter and working hard, right? He's 6'3", whatever he is, right? So I think, maybe with Mike at 10 years, I could definitely see his skills like he's not gonna be able to get in and out of those breaks the same, right? And so now you're dealing with it. Maybe is he Marcus? Does he transition to more of a Marcus Colston type though? So I mean, that's still a good player.
I think the difference between Marcus and Mike, though, is that Marcus succeeded a lot off of his flexibility and his bend and in his ability to catch passes all over. And his flexibility in his hips and at his waist were insane. And as that started to go, he
Yeah,
started to go a little bit. I
yeah.
could just see, like, I agree with you 100%. Mike creates more separation than people give him credit for. There's and the early story on the site about how much separation he created on
Check
each
that out.
play and all that stuff. But I mean, I do think as that goes, that he'll simultaneously, and you see him adding strength now, and that might be something that he keeps up. And I think as some of that goes, he's going to find ways to keep winning. And he makes a ton of catches where he's only open by 1 yard.
Yeah,
And I think that you could just see that becoming more of his game, and that maybe his role condenses a little bit. Is in 10 years is hard for anybody. I'm just saying, if
yeah,
there's a receiver that's 27 right now in the league that I think has a shot of being really good still at 37, and what's really good for a 37-year-old, I don't know, 950 yards, 900 yards, like I could see him
600.
still doing that. But if you're signing somebody again for a 10-year contract, the salary in year 10, that's the trick. Like, and obviously you're gonna have outs and everything, but like theoretically speaking, saying you're paying it for 10 years, the salary in year 10 is going to be so bloated that there
Yeah,
are so few guys that are actually going to be worth that money. And that's why Patrick Mahomes is probably a 101 in the NFL right now.
yeah. Told a bunch of incentives, and it's like a 3-year contract with 7 ghost years, something like that.
But like a true 10, like he's really the only guy I think in the whole league that I would even
Receiver.
entertain that conversation. Mahomes, like there's really nobody else.
Oh,
Like
Mahomes.
yeah, truthfully, like we're going through the thought exercise here, but like truthfully, Mahomes is a one-on-one unicorn. Like
You could
there's
talk me into Kyler Murray. I could be
not
talked
yet,
into. I
not
could be
yet,
talked into Kyler Murray if I
not
had
yet.
to pick another guy.
Not
If you force me, I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't want to. Like, I'm not advocating for it. But if I had to pick another, so if you ask me who was quarterback 2, it would probably be Kyler Murray. In that
man.
10 years, if I
So
had to pick someone,
like you'd be ready to commit to like a $45 million salary
no,
for him. I
no.
mean,
I
that's
said
what you
if
got
I
to
had
do though.
to,
That's
if
what
I
you.
had to.
There's nobody though. Like
No,
if I had to, I would go Watson before Kyler Murray.
that's good. Yeah, no, no, no. I forgot about Deshaun. I forgot about. I should have. That's why I usually have lists in front of me. Yeah, I would be cool. I would go with Deshaun before.
Yeah, it's like absolutely critically forced, and I think Watson's probably a decent bet. I mean, I think he's going to age well. It's just 10 years,
He takes
man.
a lot of hits, though, man. He
Yeah,
takes a lot of hits. I mean, Kyler had a really good year. Listen. I'm watching him. I like Kyler. I think he's gonna be really good. So, I mean, I probably feel a little bit better about him than you do, but he had a really good rookie year when you look at it statistically and how it kind of measured against
I felt pretty good
other
about
rookie
Baker.
quarterbacks.
Like I felt pretty good
Uh,
about Baker. Like I need to see year two, man.
I feel you.
Especially coming into an offense that was kind of new,
Yeah,
and you aren't tricking anybody. And well, maybe you are in 2020 because it's going to be a weird ass year, but you aren't tricking anybody in 2021. So
yeah. I think a lot of it really, and I think it's you bring up an interesting point because when I look at guys who I think will be good in 10 years, one of the first things I would look at is maybe who's coaching them,
yeah,
right? I mean, if say for instance, if you had, you know, Kyler on one team and you had Watson, right? I would take Kyler with Peyton over Deshaun with O'Brien. I just would feel better about it. I feel like Deshaun has more stability here. I think he's a better coach. I think the team is drafting better. I think he's figured. I mean, I think he's mastered being a head coach in the NFL at the highest level, managing his team, managing his players, the draft, having good assistants, picking guys based on merits and not picking guys who are your friends, let them be in coach. I think he's checked all those boxes. So I would pick Kyler with Sean over Deshaun with O'Brien because I think I think half of the success a quarterback has is based on where he's playing. And Kyler has he has a big arm. He's accurate and he can run. I swear his feet move like 5 times before people take one step. But yeah, I think the coach will play a lot into it too. And I think that's why you feel good about Mahomes, right? Because you got Andy Reid, who's probably going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all fair. I would still take Watson, I think, over Kyler.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I think he's coach proof. He's kind of going to fit into any system. You know, I don't want to get like into the whole hypothetical like injury thing, but I feel like Kyler's ability to survive 10 years, if I had to bet 10 years worth of money on him right now, would worry me a little bit just with the size and style of play.
He doesn't take hits though. Deshaun takes more hits than Kyler. Kyler doesn't really Kyler be getting out
Over
of
10
bounds,
years
man.
though, like all it takes, he's a smaller guy. He gets outside of the pocket. All it takes is one. Like it's just his durability. Like 10 hits on Deshaun. How many? Like,
But he's short, not small though.
yeah, but he's gonna
He's short,
get
not
hit,
small.
man. At some point, he's gonna take a hit, and it's gonna make everybody cringe. And there's gonna be a few of those, and then over 10 years,
Yeah, but Deshaun takes. I mean, listen. I think if you're getting hit by a linebacker, if you're 195 and 205 or 208, I don't know if there's a big difference. Because I mean, Deshaun. I mean, the thing about Deshaun is
I'd have the same concern over 20-year-old Taysom. If he was coming in, it's just these guys are gonna take it. I
I
don't
got
know.
a problem. I got a concern about 31-year-old Taysom. I'm just I really believe it. I don't think Lamar. I don't know what happens when you have to negotiate Lamar Jackson's contract.
Yeah.
He has to run to be good. He's MVP. He deserved it, right? He's great. He's great. But he's not always going to have that skill set as a runner. So,
I mean, he didn't even come up in this, and he should have based on talent, but it's just 10 years.
So what happens even on a regular contract? I don't know how I feel about that contract, because what's the shelf life on guys that play like that? How old is Cam Newton? 31. His body is, that shoulder, good luck, right? Good luck. So the guys who play like that, I just feel like their career has a shelf life. And so, we'll this is a conversation that we'll probably circle around to. But, when I look at Taysom, I think Taysom likes the contact. I think he's a running back. I don't know people. I think that the guy runs towards contact. And when you're a quarterback, and I don't know if you could turn that switch off, right? When he becomes a quarterback, I don't think Taysom is just going to automatically start running out of bounds. So you're 31. Yeah, you had an injury-filled college career. He's been bionic, man, since he's been in the NFL. But, how long does that last? So in 2 years, if he's your quarterback and he's still playing like that, you're looking for Mr. Franchise again, because, one hit from the wrong player and it's a wrap. So it's interesting, man. It's interesting. With these running quarterbacks, these second contracts are going to be the guys who depend on running. I'm paying attention to these second contracts. Like Lamar, I got to see this contract, because if I'm the Ravens, I'm nervous.
The thing with, Taysom's injury history in college is the thing that gives me pause more than anything, because the way he's built, he seems like he should be able to take a lot of hits, but
solid, man.
His body's gonna, it's something that you're gonna have to live with, and you got to have a contingency plan, and that's probably why Tommy Stevens is there now. But if I don't know anything about Tommy Stevens as a quarterback, really. I mean, the college stuff isn't great. I don't think without the other ability, I don't know, if he gets a shot, if it isn't for Taysom Hill existing before him, and then Joe Brady, coming from the system wanting him, Sean Payton wanting him as a backup to Taysom Hill 3 years ago. I don't think that this guy gets drafted under the conditions of this year if they cut down the roster size, which is something they're considering. Even if he got signed as a UDFA, he might be someone that ended up on the chopping block. I think that he probably has a spot on the roster, just given the way things played out, given that they know if they cut him, there's another team that's going to claim him.
Yeah.
And they traded for him. So I think he's probably assured now. But yeah, I mean, you got to have that contingency plan. And it's going to be a scary reality if he does end up being the quarterback, because you can't take away his legs. You can't change the way he runs, because that's what makes him special. You just got to live with the risk and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a concern, man. It's something that I've thought about. And I think when you couple that with him being 31, which is crazy. I don't know. It's just when you think about the fact that he's 31, it's just yeah, I don't know. That's not the first thing that comes to mind. And so when you're picking, if you're the Saints and you're looking at Jameis Winston versus Taysom Hill, how are you how's that evaluation going? I mean, it's just it's I don't know what to do with it. My instincts tell me, I guess I'm more of a, I don't want to say traditionalist, but like,
Oh, I definitely am.
yeah, I want my quarterback to be playing for a while. I don't want a 2-year splash in the bucket. So, if this guy's 31, he likes to run. Then I got this other guy who's 26, I think he is, and he can throw the ball anywhere on the field. He's accurate. Now he's with a genius. I feel a little bit better about that. And I guess I'm kind of like showing my hand on how I feel about the the future of this position. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think logically you have to feel more comfortable with Jameis because he is traditional. We know how it works. We know what it would look like. We know what it takes to get him there. We don't know anything about Taysom. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. We don't know what he's got to do to get to where he needs to be. We don't know what's real, what's fake. We know what's real with Jameis, and
Yep.
you can diagnose it, and you see if you fix out what the upside is going to be. You know he's not an injury risk. All that stuff. As a curious football person, observer of the game, I badly want Taysom to be the guy that wins this because I want to know what it is and what it looks like. But, obviously I think if Jameis wins it, you're in a known situation. You're knowing what you're going into. I don't think the Saints even know. I mean, if they did, Jameis
Right.
wouldn't be here. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I mean, if I'm an outsider looking at the team and I'm just a football fan, I'm rooting for Taysom Hill.
you got to,
It's
man.
not
You
even
got to,
close. Like
yeah.
Sean Payton, like what do you got up your sleeves, man? But
He's been thinking about it for how long? I mean, you know
oh
what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I want it. Like, it's. I've probably used this analogy before, but it's like you're sitting in traffic and there's a traffic jam, and you're just sitting there, and you get to the end, and there's no reason for being in the traffic jam. If that's what happens, that's what it's going to be like. If we waited this long to see
yeah,
Taysom, and Jameis just pulls off with it, it's like you sat in traffic for 2 hours and you never know the reason why, and it's going to be so frustrating. And if I sit that long, I need to know. I need a payoff. I need to see something like, oh, this is why this happened. But it's just like what were we doing here? Was everybody dumb? We were just sitting here for no reason. Like, what was the point of this? That's how it's gonna feel if he doesn't get that shot.
yeah. I think it'll also say that Jameis really beat him out too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I think
I
if
don't
Jameis,
care. I don't care at this point. We've been thinking about this too long. I need to know. Show
hey,
me
look,
something.
I'm Team Jameis. I'll be honest. I'm straight Team Jameis because he's younger and I've seen him do it. And look, Taysom will be on the team, whether he's
For a year.
wearing a
For a year.
Tommy Stevens jersey or Hill jersey, right?
I mean, if you are a Saints fan, yeah, I think you got to want Jameis to win it because that means Jameis fixed himself, and now you got this guy that's a top 10 quarterback.
You stole him
Yes,
basically, like you stole him, and shame on Tampa Bay if that happens, man. Like that can't happen. Like that can't happen. Like yeah, that can't happen. If Jameis ends up being the guy, then you got to burn the ship down.
I know we
So.
disagree on this a little bit, but they've had their drafting and developing they've burned a lot of Jameis, the kicker. I mean,
Are you
there's
talking about
probably more.
Tampa?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we agree. They I don't think they're good drafters.
Oh, I was arguing with somebody. I thought it was you. I was arguing with someone recently that was like disagreeing with me a little bit on that.
I feel cheated on.
I mean, they blew it though. I mean, I don't think Jameis is a blown pick, but it's a blown developmental situation. And I don't know. I guess if you take a quarterback number one, he doesn't get a second contract. It's kind of a blown pick. Like, I don't care if Tom Brady materialized. Like, you shouldn't have needed him.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, here's the thing, right?
The kicker in the second round?
Come on, man. He didn't even make it. Did he? I don't even think he made it 1 year. Is he in the league?
I don't know if he's in the league.
Who?
I'm gonna look it up.
Listen. Yeah. When you draft a quarterback, your number one goal is to surround him with players and coaches and position coaches and strength and conditioning people. It's all about his success, right, and making him be giving him the most opportunity and as many tools as possible to be a successful quarterback. And so when you look, if you're going to pick a kicker in the second round, uh, I mean, what's going on here, right? What's going on here? And you're rotating offensive coordinators. You haven't built and solidified an offensive line. This is not a mobile. Now, Jameis is more mobile than people give him credit for. He's awkward mobile. It's mad awkward. It's kind of hard to look at, but somehow
Just check out his IG videos, man.
oh,
You
he's
see
so
how he's
awkward.
moving on there sometimes, and it's just like
He's so awkward, bro. But he like can scramble though. It's crazy because like if you look at his scrambling numbers, they're really good, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, when you don't, this is not a mobile quarterback, so this guy needs a clean pocket for the most part. You have to build your team around this guy, right? If I'm drafting a quarterback, I'm drafting offensive lineman. That's the first thing I'm doing. I'm signing a veteran in free agency, someone to shore up my offensive line room. I'm drafting the best offensive line coach I can, and I'm making these Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy type picks, right? So, I mean, look at Dallas. I mean, Dak has been able to be successful because he's had protection. When Dak doesn't have protection, he looks different, right? And most quarterbacks do, but Dak more so. So, I do think shame on Tampa. Now, I'm not saying it's not some Winston doesn't have some blame to take here because he's been the one on the field, but yeah, I do think that I'm optimistic about it because I can see the difference in talent, the difference in coaching, and a scheme that will, put him in a position where I feel like he'll be better. So I think his chance of being successful as a Saint is really high, and I've read a lot about Jameis over the years, but even more so since they've signed him. And I mean, apparently the guy's a freaking football whiz. I mean, so I need to see it, man. I'm team Jameis. I'm just letting everybody know. We got love for Tay over here too, though. But
so Aguayo made it one season,
that's
22.
his name.
Yeah, 22 or 31, and then he was
22
so good that
31.
his brothers were getting hyped. His brother Ricky was getting hyped. He came up right behind him at Florida State, and he was supposed to be, the truth too. They were supposed to be the new Grammaticas or whatever, like the kicking family of the NFL.
Big brother
Not
killed it for
great.
everybody else, though, huh?
73% in 2016, 85%, 64%,
Wow.
50%, and then my guy.
don't,
20,
don't say his nickname. Is it like PG-13
Ricky Aguayo, he got at some point in 2017, he ended up being the suspect, and I'm going to have to read the story when we're done here. He was the suspect in the burglary and killing of a turtle at a now defunct fraternity. The name of the turtle's name was Turntle, and he ended up getting killed. And the brother was a suspect in the killing of a turtle.
What? I mean, I know you mad because you don't like when reptiles die.
Yeah, you can get rid of all the snakes, but no, man, not the turtles, man.
Not the turtles and the gators, man.
No, not at all. Oh, the killing of that gator was brutal, man. They didn't need to
Man,
do that.
I got a lot of support for that tweet when I asked everybody to pray for you, man. You lost your buddy, so people got people got
I don't
love
know
for
if
you,
this guy
man.
killed a turtle. That's
How do you?
I don't know.
I'm.
I don't know if he did it or not, though. I don't know the conclusion of the story.
I mean,
So
he's in
he
Florida.
was alleged to have been involved in this.
I,
Allegedly.
but people eat turtles. I'm trying to figure out like what's the. It's like, oh, you go to jail for killing a fish. It's like people they eat turtles.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's different. I guess probably if you go into the ocean and get a wild fish as opposed to going into somebody's living room and like ripping a fish out of
I
their
guess that's
aquarium.
fair. Yeah,
You see
yeah. I
in
guess
front of some kids or something.
went to the zoo and killed like the main
Right.
main turtle. In the
That's somebody's pet turtle at that point. Like, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different
he's
than
like he's like bred from like the best turtle genes and
yeah.
yeah, it's like
It's
yeah,
a
Master
family pet.
Splinter raised him. It's all messed up. Yeah. All right. So moving on, we got more topics. So PFF they released an article. I want to say it must have July 6th. I'm looking at the date by Steve Palazzolo, and I hope I said his name right. But they do this every year, and it's basically a group of the top offensive lines in the NFL. And so I'll rattle off maybe the top 10. Number one, Indianapolis Colts. Number two, the Saints. Number 3, Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, Green Bay Packers. Number 5, Ravens. Number 6, Browns. Number 7, New England Patriots. Number 8, San Francisco 49ers. Number 9, Pittsburgh Steelers. And number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know the Saints are consistent top 3, top 5 offensive line, but how do you feel about them, coming at number 2?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good spot for him.
Yeah.
I do think that wherever they had him last year was probably too high. I don't know where PFF had him. I know they overrated Larry Warford by a lot, so that put him up, probably lifted the group up a little bit. If
Yeah.
they had the same rating on him as the Saints, they're probably a little bit lower in the top 10. But I do think that they have the potential to rank in this area. They're obviously very athletic. I think a lot rests on how Ruiz settles in, and if he can play center right away. If he's your guard, I don't think they're as good as they'll be as if he's at center. And I think that's a big issue is getting him in there. That's one of the major subplots of the season. But yeah, I mean, I think this is probably a really good spot for them. They've invested so much in the offensive line since Jeff Ireland got there. I think if you look at the 2 biggest points of turnaround for him, beyond just hitting more on the draft picks, I think since he came in, you've seen a focus on A, the offensive line, and B, special teams, and filling out the bottom of the roster with guys that can contribute that are unheralded. But I think those are the 2 major differences on the team. And yeah, I mean, I think somewhere in that top 5 is definitely where they should be. I can't pick nits over if it was 5 or 2 because I
Right.
don't know the intricacies of every offensive line well enough to say that. But I know based among the teams I watched that they're much more solid than other teams.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. So they had a podcast about this. That's how I found the articles. I have them on my podcast feed. So, I said, "Oh, top offensive lineman. This offensive line. This sounds interesting." And so, one of the guys made a comment. They said, and this is interesting. This is why the offensive line is really hard to evaluate. I think if you put maybe 5 different offensive line coaches in the NFL, they may have a different opinion about different guys, right? It's hard for me to look at O-line sometimes because I don't know whose assignment is what. I mean, you got so many different run schemes: power, man, inside zone, outside zone, counter. It's so many different run schemes. That's just a run game. We haven't gotten into pass pro yet, and so it's kind of hard to kind of have one consensus opinion on it. But one comment that they did have was that if Larry Warford would have been on the team instead of Pete, that the Saints would have been at number 1.
That's absurd.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me because, and it's like their grades, right? And they had Warford graded. I mean, well documented. They like Warford, and I'm not saying Warford's a bad player, not at all. But
Has anyone heard back of Warford yet, or is he still a free agent?
there you go. NFL is telling you how they feel about Larry Warford, and I mean Brandon Brooks just tore his Achilles, or I think it was Achilles. The Eagles haven't signed him as a guard, right? The Texans haven't signed him.
He's going to get paid eventually, but like if there was significant competition for him, somebody would have done it already, and that money would have been paid. So it's yeah. I mean, if he was that good, you're right. The NFL is telling you
If Chris Jones, if the Chiefs unfranchise tag Chris Jones, he's signed in a week.
Right, and Jadeveon Clowney isn't because he's not worth top of the market money, and he's got to wait. So, yeah, I mean, the league is telling you with the guy that he isn't. That the Saints were right about their evaluation is basically what the league's telling you.
And it goes back to the Chiefs, where they offered Andrews Pete a contract in a similar pay range that the Saints did, right? And so Larry Warford was not getting the same contract that Andrews Pete is getting. So, I mean, and look, I'm I've been on record about Pete. I think he he got paid more than I thought he would have gotten paid more than I would have paid him. I'm not taking that back. He got to show me on the field, and I think he was the weakest link. I still feel that way, but I think the team is telling you how they feel about a player. Now with Pete, I think we've seen Pete really good, and I do think injuries played a large part in it. And he's younger, way more athletic. He can do stuff that Warford never dreamed about doing on some blocks. That's not hard to find. Put on the film from 2000, I think it was 2017, where Pete was like, oh gosh, man, if he that guy comes back, then this is the number one O line in the league. So I say all that to say that these lists are a little, they're interesting. I'm not gonna say anybody's wrong or right. These guys from PFF, they do watch every snap. I don't. So it's no criticism coming this way, but I do think it's just all subjective. And when you see, how a team values a player, it kind of just makes you, it just kind of makes you think that, sometimes things are a little bit different. But I think it is a consensus that the Saints have a top offensive line in the league, and anywhere in the top five, I don't think you can really just make a huge case. I would say top three. I would say top three. They belong in the top three. Where in there, I think it's all about who's writing the article and how they feel about said player.
The Warford thing is wild to me though. Like he's the difference between number one and number two.
Yeah, that's what they said. He said if Warford would have been on this list, I'm
So
99%.
Warford, so if they kept Warford and still added Ruiz and they got rid of Pete,
they would have had the Saints number one. That's how I understand what they were saying.
I mean, I fully expect Warford to have a good season. The stuff that happened last year was out of shape, coming off the late surgery, waited to have the surgery and everything. But I mean, if it was that simple, somebody would have signed him by now. Maybe he needs to take a prove it deal, but if you need to take a prove it deal, that says something about where
Yeah, I'm
you're
gonna
at.
say
Again,
once a guy takes a prove it deal, it's not likely you get the long term deal afterwards, right?
yeah, I mean, because then next time he's coming into it, he's going to be 31 going into a season.
Right.
He might get a decent contract somewhere, but it's just he has to prove it, and I don't think it's that simple as saying this guy you put him in and everything's better. The league's telling you he has to prove it, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
At this point, it's not like I don't
Water
know.
under the bridge,
Maybe he
man.
doesn't want to practice. He's holding out like to sign a deal, and the money's going to be there. But I think it's probably much more likely that the money's just not there that he wants, and he's waiting
Yeah.
to see if something comes about, and it hasn't. And
Yeah.
when he got cut, the reaction from everybody that covers the league that doesn't pay specific attention to the Saints was all like, "Oh my God, what are they doing? This guy, this
Pro Bowl
great,
player, blah blah
yeah,
blah.
this
Right.
great guard just hit the market, and where's the frenzy? Like it didn't happen." So I mean, people are seeing what the team saw, and they telegraphed the move. I just don't,
Worst hitting
I just don't
worst.
think he is. But a lot of, I think he's. Look, I think this is what we were talking about before. It's like you earn a reputation on the offensive line, and that resides with you
Yep.
well past your prime. You continue to make Pro Bowls. You get votes for stuff, and in a position where it's really hard to evaluate the interior offensive line, some of that stuff is going to show up. In you're going to give a guy maybe benefit of the doubt on plays where you might not give somebody else a benefit of the doubt because it's hard to decipher what's going on. And
Yeah.
it must have been the guard on the other side, or the rookie center or whatever. And maybe it's the other guard that has a sterling reputation and it's past at this point. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, again, I could see him having a very good season. I just don't think that it's as simple as like, oh, he's Larry Warford. Like he's not. He's not right now.
Yeah. The Saints didn't make any secrets about how they felt about him. I mean, that was not a secret. They telegraphed that move and and they went through with it. I remember you coming back saying, "Hey man, what's Warford guy? Just keep an eye on this situation."
Yeah, it's like they were like hinting that they wanted to see other people for a while, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see other people," and you aren't part of the other people. Like,
right.
yeah,
I think if they wouldn't have drafted Ruiz, they still may have cut him. I could. I get the. I don't know. I guess we'll never find out. But like, I just got the feeling that they were like. It's kind of hard to. You tried to trade a guy. You publicly said that he's out of weight, and I don't know. But
in the
think
past when we've seen them fed up with people, that's
once you're gone, man.
yeah.
Son, you lose that trust, and it's over. So, all right. So moving on to the last topic, we last couple of weeks we've been doing a Saints roster ranking, and so We're gonna do 10 through 6 today. So as a recap, I'll give my recap. My 20 was Sheldon Rankins. 19, Andrews Pete, who we just finished speaking about. Taysom Hill, who we've also spoken about. Malcolm Jenkins. 17, David Onyemata. Janoris Jenkins. Emmanuel Sanders. 14, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Marcus Williams. Marcus Davenport. Number 11. You want to give your recap? You got it in front of you?
Yeah, Taysom, David Onyemata, Emmanuel Sanders, Deontay Harris, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. 15, Will Lutz. 14, Morstead. 13, Eric McCoy. 12, Marcus Davenport. 11, Marcus Williams.
Okay. All right, 10. You want me to start off?
Yeah, you can go.
All right. My number 10 was, I think you're number 13. I had Eric McCoy here. I think that he came in. I mean, there was some cadence things that went on at the start of the season, which, it kind of makes us wonder how much Ruiz will be able to transition into that role with the reduced offseason. But I mean, he came in. I remember watching his college tape, and it was outstanding. The guy didn't lose reps. Again, something similar that we saw to Ruiz. He has the physical talent that is matched by, clearly the play, right? And just kind of continues what we've seen recently with the Saints in their high-level ability to draft offensive linemen. I mean, Ramczyk, McCoy, you can feel how you feel about Pete, but the Saints like them, Armstead, right? Their entire line, man, yeah, they've drafted pretty much everyone on their line now. Now that I think about that, so that's impressive. But yeah, he came in, solidified the center spot. I remember having a conversation saying, Max Unger, he's gone. Did they upgrade? And after going back and watching, I'm thinking like, based on this guy's college film and based on what I just saw from Unger the past year, yeah, it's an upgrade. It turned out to be a massive upgrade. So for him to come in as a rookie and just become a top, probably at least top 10 center in the NFL, probably more like top 7 or 8. I just, that's just really impressive to me, especially offensive line where everybody got to be on the same page. So yeah, what is quite possibly the most talented roster in the NFL, I think Eric McCoy deserved. He made a spot in my top 10, and I feel good about having him there.
All right, my number 10, I don't know where he was on your list. You're going to tell me after I say it. I got Janoris Jenkins at 10.
I got him at 15.
List. Okay. Look, when I first put my list together, he was a little bit lower, and he like keeps creeping up as I make changes every time before we start talking. So he was in the last tier. Last time I was like, I can't put him there. So he ended up at 10. I moved him up midway through as we were doing it in the last podcast. So
okay,
I got him there. I just think he's a top 30 cornerback in the NFL probably when everything's working for him. And, I do think that he's going to benefit greatly playing in a system that's going to accentuate his strengths. I think that New York did that at first, and then they got away from it a little bit, became a little bit more of a zone-heavy team. So getting back to just playing more press concepts, being able to follow and shadow guys, I just think that he's going to be able to tap into something a little bit more here. And look, if he hits and the positional value is what I think it is, like 10 might actually end up being too low. He's somebody that I think has, the potential to be higher on this list if we revisit it midway through the season. So, yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly high on him. I think he's going to change the defense, and I think that, A, getting him, and B, keeping him that contract this offseason, I think it was a great move, and I think it's going to pay off probably, more than anything. And we were just mentioning at the beginning, 17, what it would have been without Marshawn. It's easy to forget how much they struggled to get corners on this team. Getting one corner. Keenan Lewis was a flash. Besides him,
bro was a little.
He was a flash.
Yeah.
People forget that bro could have been really good. I mean, there was like 10 bad plays, the holds. Like if he would have, there was a path that he was on that was going to be really good, and it went the other way on him.
Yeah. I'll give you credit though. Like I remember when you came. I remember a lot of people after the season, the notion was, all right, this Janoris Jenkins contract, what are they going to do about it? And so I was like, yeah, man, Jenkins, I was like, yeah, he's good. I mean, what are they going to do about his contract? And he was like, well, he's the highest paid corner in the league. Like they don't need to do nothing about his contract. They need to keep him on the team. So I remember you driving that narrative, and it turned out to be right because
I mean, he's that good though. It's great. Like you don't let that guy go. You don't get two of those, and I just don't think people realize how good he was. And even like during the bad years in New York, quote unquote bad years, they weren't actually bad years, but the years where he wasn't maybe showcasing the way he should have been,
show
he
me the
was
pass
still really
rush.
good.
Show
Yeah,
me the
like
pass rush, though. Show me the
right.
pass rush. You show me a good corner with bad defense,
That
I'm
team was
showing
a
you a Hall of
mess,
Famer.
man. I mean, they were a mess. There was a lot of bad stuff going on there. And look, I mean, like Eli Apple coming out of there, like I know
There
that
you
first year
go.
was probably rough, but like from what I know of him, like I think there was probably stuff going on there that put him in a bad spot.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, some personal stuff probably
yeah,
in there too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like a bad environment for a lot of people, and a lot of
Players.
things didn't go right there.
Yeah. No, I get your point, man. I get your point. And the coaching carousel,
We'll see
I
how that
mean,
goes.
yeah, and then yeah, exactly, right. The special teams guy. And
I
then
can't believe they didn't hire Bieniemy, man.
what's going on? What's going on? You got
I
a
can't.
young
I just like
quarterback.
look. This guy might be a great coach, but the fact that he got a shot before Bieniemy is crazy to me. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. I
Yeah.
just don't.
And it's crazy because like the notion is like all these. I mean, look, we don't need to state the obvious, right? In that there's a problem in the NFL that minority coaches, and that's well documented. We don't need to make that a topic, but there's this whole fad, and I call it a fad because I don't think that's how you should hire coaches. But it's like if a guy's a good offensive coach, he's learned under a good offensive guy, and he's shown results. He's calling the Chiefs plays, by the way. That guy usually gets a job, right? He usually gets a job, and so I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Specific to this location, I think there's a second element here too, in that the general manager is
Weird.
definitely on the hot seat. I think that if they have a bad season, he's out, and I think that he needed to hire a coach that wasn't going to threaten him. So you hire a guy that's maybe a little bit lower down the totem pole to try to save yourself, so that there isn't a power struggle. I think that's probably an element, even outside of Bieniemy. Like if you look at all the other candidates, like this guy kind of came out of look, and I was around Judge last year. I think he's a good coach. He presents in a way that I think is very football guy-ish, which is definitely a thing. I think it's a stupid talking point because like I think Pete Carmichael is probably a better coach than a lot of people, but he doesn't present as a football guy. And I think in some respects that's probably played into a factor of his marketability, and he's called some at times he's definitely been a part of one of the best offensive in the NFL, never really got a shot. So, Judge is a football guy, and this GM, Gettleman, I think if he hired a coach, look, it's just an element of saving himself. Like he needs to set up a structure to where there isn't going to be, at least immediately, a power struggle. Somebody saying, "Hey, this guy's an idiot. I can do it without him." You hired a special teams coach who's going to have to hire people around him to run sides of the ball. Like he's only going to assert so much power in the organization, and it's a shrewd move by Gettleman to hire him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And Bieniemy probably like analytics, so they probably like took him out of the run.
Can't have that.
Can't be using
Yeah.
analytics, bro.
Dude, I swear Gettleman was trolling people. Like when the draft, everybody had like 7 screens, and he's looking at like he's on like a 1982 ThinkPad with like stacks of paper out of it. That had to be deliberate. There's no way. Like he knew what he was doing.
Bro.
Look, that was stupid too. Though there was like this stupid like arms race, and it's just like you don't need 19 screens. Like Belichick sitting there with a dog and one, and like
Belichick trolling though. He got a TV screen room in the other room.
he probably did. He was probably making a
Yeah.
statement
He's
too,
just trolling everybody about that little one screen.
but some people were going a little over the top. But like Gettleman, like it had to be like he's like, yeah, take a picture of me. Like he said it. Like he knows what he's doing, man.
Kingsbury is my guy. I mean, like where was he?
Oh, that was amazing.
That house was like he took that money and spent it. He was like we made it, bro. But
That's
yeah,
how I'd be living too, man. If it was
look, I mean, look, man, you're in Arizona. Prices ain't. You can probably get a little bit more. So, You know, California coaches living in apartments. The 49er coaches up in like the one bedroom.
Oh man,
Same price. All right. Let's get through the rest of this list. So my number 9 was Jared Cook.
same.
Okay. Yeah, this was an easy one for me. I mean, I don't even think it's crazy because I think he's 32. I want to say he's 32. I can look it up, but I can see him being a good player for maybe another couple of years after this season. He still seems like he moves well. He came into the offense. Things were a little bit slow from the start, and boy, the Saints fans were all over him. And I remember at the start of the season, and I was kind of like taking up for him a little bit. And man, I took it. Like they were giving it to me. I was not a popular guy. I'll say that. Even my co-host at the time was like, "Hey man, you sure you want to down this hill?" I was like, "Hey man, just just watch, man, just watch." And so, yeah, I just think he's come in and he's given the Saints at the tight end position what they haven't had probably since when Jimmy Graham left. Now he's not Jimmy Graham level because there's on that year is only maybe one or two of those guys in the NFL who's played at that level. So it's not the same, but I just think this position is so important to this offense, and he kind of came in and solidified it. So, yeah, he deserves this foul on this list. I got Jared Cook at my number 9.
I mean, I agree with everything you said. I've talked about Cook a lot. I'm just going to move it up to my next one. And man,
Number 8, okay.
yeah, I do not like where I have anybody ranked one day. It feels like they're interchangeable. Everybody feels too low as I look at it. Some guys feel too
This is
high.
the hardest part of the list.
Yeah, I mean, because we're into the Saints have a lot of like elite players who are like legitimately top 2, 3, 4 at their position in the NFL, and like
Yeah, and we got him at number 8 or number 9 or something, and it's like,
yeah, and
yeah.
I think any one of these guys deserve to be top 5.
Hopefully, you don't listen to the pod and get mad.
Look, it is what it is. So I'm gonna flip my 7 and 8 right now.
Oh, look at you, bro! Just stick to the list, man. How many times have you changed this list?
I'll stick to the list.
Come on, yes.
All right, since he battled some injuries probably the last year and a half, I'm gonna go with Alvin at 8.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think he has the potential to be
that's a
one
fair
or
spot.
two in the NFL at his position if he has a healthy season.
Yeah,
but he didn't. So just based on that, I'm going to knock him down to that spot. Again, we talked about him a lot, so I don't think we need to parse through that way too much. But I mean, yeah, that's where I got him. And
Kamara number 8, man. That says a lot about the team.
It does.
Yeah, that's just weird looking at it. Yeah, man. All right, my number 8 is Mike Thomas. I'm joking. He's about to call up Ross Jackson. Hey man, you want to do another?
Oh man.
Hey man, look. I wish when you go back, when you look at this recording, look at the look on your face.
Oh man.
You should make that the pod, like as you tease the pod. No, my number 8 is. I feel bad about putting him here. I got Lattimore at number 8. I feel bad about that. How do you put a guy who's a top 5 corner? Maybe I don't know, maybe higher than that at number 8 on your roster rankings. I don't know. I don't feel really good about. I mean, certain guys I feel good about, but I don't feel good about having Lattimore at number 8. I'll be honest with you, but when you look at the guys above him, I mean, who are you moving down? So, I don't know, him and Kamara. How do you rank Kamara versus Lattimore, right? Those are, high end. Both of those guys are maybe the best at what they do in the NFL. I just don't know at this point. I don't need to talk about how good Marshawn Lattimore is. He's rare cornerback in the NFL, and he's young, and he came in good. So, yeah, my number 8, Marshawn Lattimore, I don't really have a lot to say about it other than I don't feel really too good about having him there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm struggling with my next one, but it's kind of along the same.
Did you just change it again? I saw you clicking.
No, I was going through my list. Yeah, but
based
on the same criteria, basically is 8. I put Tehran at 7, but I think Tehran could be.
I think
Tehran could be a top 4 guy. But look, if we're gonna do we're going to use the criteria of availability, health, and all that stuff, and you start separating tiers of greatness. I mean,
I
how do
don't
you
like it.
hold it against one guy and not another? I mean,
He plays what? How many games plays this past season?
all right, so
All right, I get your point.
look,
Oh
we look at
man,
the cloud of guys above him. Is 11 healthy games of Teron more valuable than 16 games of Lattimore? It's tough, man. I mean, like, how do you rank it? What do you do
yeah,
with
I
it?
feel you. I
It's
feel
tough at
you.
this point, and you got to start making hard decisions based on something. And it's not a knock on anybody. I think Teron. You know, I'm everywhere speaking about Teron. Like, I think he's potentially the best tackle in the league when he's healthy, and it's just the availability over the course of the career. You know, you got to knock him down at some point, and that's a separating factor between. You know, I think him being. I don't think he could get higher than 5 on my list, and that's the difference between 5 and 7.
Okay, I respect your thought process and how you got there, and I think it's fair, and I think it's valid, and I think it's impossible to do this one way.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like I said, once you get into this tier, it's only certain takes that are like terrible, like having Ramchick out of the top 10 or Mike Thomas out of the top 5, or even Ramchick out of the top 5. He's got to be there, but yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard. I have to run a little bit higher than you do. Um, I won't say where, but yeah, it's just tough at this point, man. So that was your number 7.
Number 7.
Yeah, man, Teron number 7. Yeah, I feel you though. I mean, if he's healthy, he's
Yeah.
what, 2 or 3,
Right.
right? Yeah.
I don't
My
know if he's
numbers.
2 or 3. I don't think he could get into my top 3.
If he's healthy, like I mean, just without the injury history, he's in the conversation for
Yeah.
number
Well,
1.
right. Yeah. He
Yeah,
might be number 1.
yeah, he might be number 1. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to factor in like injury onto this list. You know, it's again like rankings. Like he's injured, you got to factor in for that. You know, Pete's someone else who's been injured. You know, Alvin has been injured. It's just it's hard to kind of like figure out where these guys go in the tier. And so basically, my number 7 is Alvin Kamara. You know, someone who on the outside who does this list probably, if you say someone did a Saints podcast host did a Saints roster ranking and Alvin Kamara wasn't in the top 5, they're probably thinking that this person is crazy. But I don't see how I can put him above the guys who are in my top 5. I just can't justify it right now. 2020 season will probably make me look silly, but I'm willing. But right now, at this date and time, you know, that's what I gotta go with. So I got my number 7 is Kamara.
So I went Lattimore at 6, and look, I mean, I think that Teron has absolutely delivered on his potential much
Have you
better.
had Jared Cook yet?
Huh?
Have you called out Jared Cook's name yet?
Yeah, we both had him at 9.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm trying
Yeah.
to think. I'm thinking through your top 5. Oh, I know who it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't.
Yeah, you do. So, yeah, basically, I think Teron's delivered on his potential much better than Lattimore, but it's a matter of games. And if Lattimore takes the next step, again, he's somebody that could be.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that the top end talent on this team is absurd, and it feels like I feel like I'm slighting everybody after Jared Cook. I feel like I feel like guilty about where I have each one of these guys because they're all really, really good at their position. There's really no fair way to rank them.
Yeah, and then some of these
guys
guys
I feel good about is my number 1 guy on this list, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And yeah, in a lot of ways, you could just take some of these dudes and maybe take out number 1 and shuffle. You can shuffle number 2 through number 8, maybe number 3 through number 8, and probably have a good list.
Yeah, I don't think you'd really upset anybody except yourself for like I feel terrible about where I have Armstead. I feel like he should be much higher on this list.
Yeah.
But it's like, what do I do? Like, how do you do it?
He's gonna release a rap diss about you, so it's coming. It's like this beef, bro. Yeah, it's coming, man. It's coming. I feel you though. I feel you, and it's also like cornerback is a hard position to play.
So is left tackle.
Yeah, so these guys, and even right tackle now, because the defensive ends rushing from that side of the ball are hard to block, right? And so how do you factor that in, right? How do you factor in a guy who's playing? And I don't even want to say a position is easy, so I don't want to like back myself into that. But cornerback is a tough position to play; it's one of the tougher ones, and you got to have a short memory. And like I'm looking at Lattimore as my number 8, and I'm just
Yeah, he's one of the best in the league.
he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Like it's just tough, man. So
Yeah.
so
So
your
whatever.
number 6 was Lattimore.
Yeah, I mean, basically, my list is like 1, 2, and then 3 A, B, C, D. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like yeah. My number 6, I feel wild. Now this is gonna leave like a nasty taste in my mouth. This is where I came in with Mario Davis.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Him in number 5, like I wrestled with him in 5, like a lot. Yeah, I got Demario Davis at number 6, and I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it. I don't
Okay.
feel good about putting the best linebacker in the NFL this past season and not in my top 5. But when I look at the guys who I got above him, I just don't know. I mean, there's only one guy. All right, there's only one guy who I can maybe switch him out, but I just I just kind of went with my gut and let history have his way. So yeah, man, I'm listen. I'm gonna probably take some flack for this, but I just don't know how to do this. This 3 through 8 thing is killing me, right? I just don't know. It's like if I had to do this list.
I don't think it's bad. I'm pretty sure I know who your top 5 is. I'm pretty sure I could guess the order. I don't think it's bad. Like I really don't think there's a bad way to do it. Like all of them, every time you say a name, it's just like whoa, and then but it's like,
Then you look who's above
like
him.
what are you supposed to do? Yeah,
Yeah, and I'll say this: like if someone took this list and deleted it out of my Google Drive, and I had to redo it from scratch, I'm pretty sure my top 10 will look different.
yeah. I mean, I've changed my list 9 times.
Yeah, that's why I just left it alone. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this list.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I feel bad. So, my number 10, Eric McCoy; 9, Jared Cook; 8, Marshawn Lattimore; 7, Alvin Kamara; 6, Demario Davis. I almost said my number 5.
yeah.
That's
So
it.
I definitely had Armstead in my top 5 at one point, and he just moved on. I felt like a hypocrite because I didn't know how to rank Alvin without holding him to the same criteria, and you
Yeah,
can't pull both up. Then it's like you're punishing guys who stay healthy. It's tough, man.
yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you right now. I didn't factor in Armstead's health in my list.
He played 15 last year.
Yeah, I didn't factor it in. So my Armstead take is gonna people gonna have something to say. It's gonna be talked about. But I'm cool with it because when he's on the field,
Yeah, no, he's top 2.
1,
Yeah.
1, 2, whatever it's you're counting, you're baiting, inches at that point, or micro, millimeters or whatever. So these lists are tough, man. These lists are tough. All right, man. Well, that's all we got. I
That's
hope you
it.
guys next week we're doing 5 through 1. So save your flaming hot takes for then, and then just give it all to us at one time. Don't like give us back to back weeks of telling us that we had bad Saints takes, because yeah, we can't handle it. But man, thank you guys for listening. Make sure you go to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. As always, the link will be in the show notes. Make sure you guys go on Instagram and follow New Orleans Football. Like everything that they post there, like I do. Follow them, show some support, tell your friends about it. Man, everything you can do to help the site, man, we appreciate it. Training camp is coming up. We're gonna be giving you guys as good as content as we are now, and we're gonna try to step it up. Make sure you guys tell a friend about NewOrleans.Football. Follow Nick on Twitter at Nick_Underhill. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin Marsh Jr. And make sure you follow the official Twitter account of the NewOrleans.Football website, NODOT Football. So with that said, thank you guys for listening. See you next week. We out.